Welcome to season 13 of the Parenting Aces podcast, a proud member of the Tennis Channel Podcast Network. I'm your host, Lisa Stone, and this week I am so excited to bring you a former NCAA champion, a former UNC Tar Heel, a former #1 junior player, a current professional player, Jamie Loeb. Jamie and I recorded this podcast right before the winter holidays, and she was in Buenos Aires when we recorded. And so I'm super, super excited to share our conversation with all of you because Jamie really has done the whole thing. She was a top junior, a top college player, and now working her way up the rankings on the Pro Tour. And she has so much valuable information to share, and also some realities to share with all of you guys about life on tour and what it takes to get there and find success there, including the financial challenges, let's say. So I hope you will listen to this or watch this, and if you have the ability or know somebody that has the ability to help Jamie out financially, that would be amazing. You can contact me and I'll facilitate that connection with her. But otherwise, I hope you learn something from her journey and take advantage of all the knowledge that she shares. So sit back, relax, and enjoy my conversation with Jamie Loeb. Well, hey, Jamie, it's great to see you. Thanks for joining us from Buenos Aires, and welcome to Parenting Aces, I guess.
Thanks. Yeah, thank you for having me. I'm a little ways away, but I'm happy to join you from down here.
Yeah, absolutely. And as promised, we are recording. It is the 7th night of Hanukkah tonight. So we decided we were going to have a little Hanukkah recognition. So a little party. I don't have any dreidels. I don't have any goat, but I've got my menorah all set up for tonight. So just thought I would share that. Talk about being so far away from family at the holiday season.
Yeah, so this is actually the first time in at least I'd say maybe my Orange Bowl or Eddie Her days where I missed Thanksgiving. I also have missed Hanukkah. I'm about to miss my dad's birthday. I don't celebrate Christmas, but I will be missing that as well. So yeah, an unusual year. Normally this time of year, I spend it with family, and I think as most, tennis players are kind of, at home a little bit with their family, but I am still in South America. I did a little South American swing, played 3 tournaments, Brazil, Argentina, and Uruguay. And then I was, gonna stay in Buenos Aires and Argentina for a few days after Uruguay, and I ended up, here I am extending my stay, and we'll be back for another couple of weeks. So yeah, I'm enjoying this summertime. The nice weather has really got me.
Yeah, absolutely. A little nicer than maybe being in your home state this time of year. It's probably a little chillier in New York.
Slash North Carolina. Yep.
Yeah. Oh, true. So I want to just start out in case we have listeners that aren't familiar with you for some unknown reason. Fill us in a little bit on how you got started in tennis and your tennis journey to this point today, which is playing on the WTA Tour.
Yeah. All right. I'll try to keep this brief. So I started tennis when I was 3 years old. For context, I am now 28. So 25 years of my life has been devoted to this sport. I'm the youngest of 4, 2 brothers and sister. They all grew up playing tennis. My oldest brother and my sister played for college. My mom taught herself tennis. So that was like the introduction to the sport. So, by the time I was born, I basically had no choice since my family was already playing. Actually, I was on a ping pong table before I could even walk. And, my brothers would just feed me balls and, just get that hand-eye coordination working at a very young age. And yeah, so I started playing tennis when I was 3 years old, played my first tournament, I think when I was 8 or just turning 8. Um, just like this little thing. And, from there, I played, junior tennis every level from, 10s, 12s, 14, 16, 18s. Had a pretty successful junior career. I would say like in each age group. I won the 18 Super National. At the time I was in Arizona, the Winter Super National, 3 times. I did. Yeah. 16s, 18s, 18s. Yes. Refreshing my memory.
Yeah.
Had a lot of success in juniors, was number one, um, ranked in the 18, 16s. And yeah, like I said, very much tennis upbringing. And then
Let me interrupt you 1 second. Did you travel internationally as a junior? Did you play junior slams, ITFs, any of that stuff?
So the first time I went outside of the country when I was 17 years old, and I went to Australia. So before that, I only played in the US. I guess I'll backtrack a little bit. I also played high school tennis, where I won the state championship for New York State Championship my sophomore year. And then my junior and senior year, I did online school so I can pursue my tennis, travel a bit more. But I didn't travel outside the country until I was 17 for Australian Open juniors. I got my ranking high enough. I think my career high for ITF was 30 in the world. And I at the time I wasn't traveling internationally. Played a lot in the US. And then so I played all 4 Grand Slams as a junior. And my best result, I made quarterfinals of Junior Wimbledon.
Wow.
That was the first time on grass as well. And so that, I guess, is a very, very brief synopsis of my junior career. And, I had a decision to make if I was, I had offers to, go pro. I got many college offers, all over UCLA, Stanford, Florida, UVA. And, I made the best decision and went to the best school out there, which is the University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill, go Heels. And that was a big decision for me because I did have a lot of success as a junior and could have had the possibility to go pro right away. But, it's a big decision, not only for me, but for my family, for my parents. And, no one in my family has been pro in anything. So they want to make sure that it's the right time. They also very much believed in education. And I thought it was the best decision for me at the time to go to school and to, mature a bit more, like, have a team environment. Just experience college, which I did for 2 years at UNC, and had a very successful freshman year. And I forgot, I won a lot of, I think I won a lot of matches. I have to refresh my bio here too. Maybe you can help me out. And there was also talks about, I wanted to potentially leave after my my freshman year.
Mm-hmm.
And because I had such a good year and also had opportunities, but then my parents were like, look, like you need to go back to school. If you win NCAAs, we'll have another conversation. I ended up winning the NCAA singles title my sophomore year. And I didn't make the decision that I was going to be pro until I found out that for sure I got the main draw wild card into the US Open. That was a big decision. But also, I guess I'll backtrack a little bit. When I was playing towards the end of my junior career, I did, play in the I played junior US Open, but I also played US Open and the pros. I got like a couple qualifying wild cards. So I had that experience and exposure there. And then once I got the main draw wild card into the US Open in 2015, that solidified my decision to turn pro. And I played Caroline Wozniacki on Arthur Ashe at 11 a.m. As my pro debut. And here I am 8 years later, still competing on tour.
I love it. I love it. Let's talk a little bit about your parents' role. You talked about the fact that academics were very important in your family. So you stayed in regular school through your sophomore year of high school, but then made that decision to go online. How did your parents feel about that? What was their role in making that choice with you or for you? Or taking a step back and letting you make that decision on your own? I mean, how did all that work?
Yeah, a lot of it, they had conversations with my coach. My coach at the time, Jay Divichetti, who actually he coached me when I was 8, and I still, work with him to this day. So that's 20 years of being with someone, and them really seeing you grow up. So that's really special. But he definitely saw my potential, and always pushed for me to like keep raising my game and like take it to the next level. And my parents, you know, kind of, like didn't really know a whole lot in terms of like, okay, well, ITFs, travel, also the finances, like what that entails. And also too, it's a huge change, like as a kid, as being in high school, having friends. I already made so many sacrifices and missed so many birthday parties and events that um switching to online school, I would, have even less of a social life. And that's like a very critical part of, your childhood. And that's also something to factor in. But at the end of the day, like we all had a conversation together. I think it started with, my coach and my, bringing it up to my parents and them thinking about it, and also just thinking about the financial cost of the schooling and the travel. And I think once they were okay with that, then we all had the conversation, because at the end of the day, it has to come from me and something I want to do. But once again, you're that young, you don't really know like what this all means. And but I knew I wanted to pursue tennis, and I wasn't able to do, play the tournaments I was going to play if I would have stayed in school. So yeah, I then, bought in and felt like that was best for me and, my tennis at the time.
Did you have a clear understanding of what it was going to take for you to find success playing in these international tournaments, the junior slams? And was it a conscious decision that, hey, I'm on board with this, I'm gonna put this work in and do this? Or was it something that just kind of evolved, and as things came up, you were like, okay, I guess this is what I need to do. Okay, this is what I need to do now. And
Yeah, I think with like pretty much anything in life, you just don't really know until you do it. And especially this, it's such a unique experience, and not really having, someone even in your family or close to you that has gone through it, um, to like walk you through things. But I think you also just, it's like I said, it's like life, you have to experience it for yourself, and everyone's path and experience is different. So it's hard for me to say. I don't really remember like what I was thinking at the time, but I had everything there. Like I had my coach, I had my family, I just had to show up to practice and play, and like whatever tournaments they're telling me to play, I'm like, okay. And yeah, it was honestly way more simpler and easier than it is now, because all I had to do was play. And I definitely didn't travel nearly as much as most of the kids do now that are playing ITFs and that are doing online school. But I also think, there's a bit of a change in with the scheduling and everything now. I wish I traveled. Well, I wish I traveled more internationally, like when I was younger, maybe when I was 16, or like play like a few more ITF events, so I have more of that exposure at that level. Because I definitely feel like there was a big difference between, say, the USTA tournaments and then the ITF tournaments. So to like have that experience and exposure and being around, girls from different countries and different game styles, like could have been helpful even at like a little bit of a younger age.
interesting. Who were some of the juniors that you were coming up with, like that you were seeing, week in and week out at tournaments?
In terms like the ITFs or
All of
the
them. I just kind of give our audience an idea of like who you were coming up
yeah.
alongside.
So I'd say like, in the US, like, played Jenny Brady, Allie Kick, Sasha Vickery, Samantha Crawford. They're all girls like my year. You know, and you have, Brooke Austin, I mean, there's like so many, other girls. And then internationally, Belinda Bencic, Siniakova, Krejcikova, Kontaveit, Sharif. Uh, I mean, they're like, I don't know, the
Yeah,
list like
a
on and
lot.
on. And then you see these girls today, and they're still doing it, and so definitely like I grew up with these girls, and a lot of us are still doing it. It's always interesting to see like where we all end up, but there's definitely a lot of the girls, even say in the top 100 in the world, like I have like played against in juniors, or like you know young, like earlier in my career, like have played against them. So it's
Right.
all.
I love that. Was there ever a period where you were considering giving up the game? Did you ever go through that burnout?
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely, have questioned myself at times, and, have been in pretty some dark places. And a lot of it comes, on the road when you're by yourself and you're on maybe like week 6 and you're in a foreign country, and you're just missing home and not sure if this is like what's right for you. And there's been times where I wish I would have listened to myself and actually taken a break, instead of keep going and keep figuring it out, because everyone, no matter what you're doing, you kind of reach like your threshold of how much you can really take on. And I tend to put a lot on my plate and expect myself to succeed
Mhm.
through all of everything. So there's definitely been times where I have kind of like reached that breaking point, and then I've had to take like a step back, but I still wish I would have taken more of a step back. Which is why I'm in Buenos Aires right now, and just kind of relaxing a little bit before I start more training, because I've had such a crazy year. I played 32 tournaments, 24
Gosh.
for the weeks, or 24 of the tournaments. I've traveled by myself. This is the most I've ever played. This is the most I've ever traveled. A bit tired, and I'm like, I owe it to myself to just kind of slow down and you know do what I want, and gonna do a little bit of training here and try something new. So I definitely would say that this is kind of not my I wouldn't say my breaking point, but a time for me to really reflect on like how I want next year to look like, because 32 tournaments is way too much.
Yeah, that's a lot. Have you ever been sidelined with injuries at all, or has your body held up pretty well so far?
I would say most of my life I've been healthy, but the last 3 years have been a very big challenge for me, and that's also been a part of this whole process of like the loneliness, the doubt, just the confidence, because when injuries come into play, it changes things, and it takes a while to regain that confidence in yourself, in your game, in your body. So I mean, it was really unfortunate, like just the timing of things, like early 2021. January, January 2021. Got COVID. I have had like pretty bad, like long COVID symptoms, and
Mhm.
like weird things that like really took a toll on my body. And at the time I was like not ignoring it, but just not really accepting it. And then later on I was like, oh wow, like these things aren't normal. So like that was like, that, and also just not understanding like what is COVID and like what does this mean. So there's that. And then I qualified for the US Open for the first time in 2021, and then played Iga Swiatek first round, tough first round. But then a few weeks after that, I ended up tearing my right calf and having an ankle sprain in my left ankle, like back to back. So I was sidelined for a bit, came back too soon, and my body like wasn't really recovered for like a year, because I just kind of came back too soon. And it's just kind of it was this whole on and off thing. And honestly, I feel like it took me until probably maybe September, maybe no, August, I would say August of this year, where I actually felt like my body was like pretty healthy again.
Oh, wow.
Different ways. Yeah. So that's a challenge. And that's what people don't realize, that it's not so much, getting over the injury, but it's like the effects in your body. And as you get older, it becomes a little bit harder, even though I feel very young and young at heart and I take great care of my body. There's so many factors. And also, the travel never helps, the constant travel. So yeah, I've had to deal with quite a bit, I'd say, the past few years. But prior to that, I mean, I was pretty healthy.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you're lucky that you stayed healthy throughout your junior and college career. And I think injury and illness are just part and parcel of being a professional athlete, and having to travel internationally, like you said, puts a great toll on your body and your mind. And, if you're exhausted, you're more prone to injury. And if you're injured, you're more prone to mental fatigue. And it just kind of all works together, not in a great way. So good for you for taking some time now. But I want to know, like, what keeps you coming back after these setbacks? What is it about tennis that keeps you in it and wanting to improve and wanting to compete?
Yeah, sometimes I ask myself that question too. I'm like, but why are you still doing this when you're putting yourself through so much pain and agony? But look, I wouldn't be doing it if I didn't still love it to whatever capacity. I mean, I definitely do, as much as, at times it's really tough in many aspects. But I really do deep down believe that I still have it. I have the game. I have the talent. It's just a matter of putting it together. And, I don't want to regret anything. And I feel like if I were to stop today, I would still have regrets, whether it's, my training or things, I still want to achieve, and I want to, give myself a shot and like do it a certain way. And yeah, it's, I mean, tennis sports, it's highly addictive. You have this adrenaline rush. I mean, you play to win and to, like, be at the top, and it just kind of makes the hard moments sweeter once you know kind of have that success. But also success just comes in different ways and forms, so it's how you look at it. But yeah, it's just like I still have that belief in myself, that I can be top 100, top 50, top 20. And I want to keep giving myself that chance. And although the travel is my least favorite thing, it's also my favorite thing, because I get to be in different countries and cultures and meet so many people along the way, that it's really cool and really special. And a lot of people, can't say that they have that experience. And I really enjoy that. And I really enjoy the relationships I make along the way and the impact those people and places have on me, and vice versa. So there's just so much more to it than just the on-court aspect. But at the end of the day, like, I want to be the best I can be, and I haven't peaked just yet.
Love that. I love that. Before we recorded this, you and I chatted offline a bit, and one of the biggest challenges that you and I were discussing is the financial piece of staying out on tour. And we see the top players, and they're traveling with these entourages, and they're getting these huge checks at the end of the tournaments. And, they're staying in these beautiful hotels and homes and things. But that's not real life on tour for most of the field out there. It's the way that the very tip top of the game is living life. But for people outside the top 50, maybe it's a very different way of life. And I'd love for you to share some of those challenges with our audience, and some of the ways that you are coping with and hoping to cope with some of those challenges.
Yeah, it's like, I'm sure a lot of people, and a lot of maybe people watching this or listening to this have seen Breakpoint, the Netflix documentary. And, that definitely highlights the top players, and you see them with their teams, and you see them at the big events, and staying at nice places and everything. And yeah, that's only a very small percentage. The tour has like thousands of players, and that's like the top 50. So a lot like a lot of times I'm traveling by myself. I mean, 24 tournaments this year, I'm by myself, and that's a lot of weeks, a lot of weeks just, sitting in your own hotel room and, just having to figure out last minute logistics and all this stuff. So, you know, ideally I would love to have a fitness coach or a physio or, a tennis coach like with me. Honestly, one of the three would be great, but it's an expense. I mean, I can barely afford my own expenses and like my life expenses, my tennis expenses, just that's so much, that takes up so much money on its own that I made the conscious decision that this year, I actually want to travel a bit more on my own, just so I can, kind of get that confidence back within myself and that trust within myself. And, which was great and really, really great for me. But I also couldn't afford someone to really be with me. And I think that has kind of shown, I wouldn't say that's why my ranking has dropped, but I mean, when you're going week in and week out by yourself, there's only so much you can really do on your own. And in a sport like this, it's really important to have that support and to have, just someone with you, because I take on everything, the bookings, the travel, figuring out food, laundry, stringing, this, that, like coordinating practices, what makes the most logical sense. Like there's like, it's just a daily thought process, and it's like you can't turn your mind off. And even just having someone there that can help like take just something off your plate. So
And
yeah,
it's the complete opposite of juniors in college, where in juniors, your parents or your coach or a combination are handling all of those things for you. Like you said, all you had to do was show up and play tennis. In college,
if you're a junior player or college player, like enjoy it, because those were the best times. And looking back, I would love to go back to the junior days where I knew nothing about finances. I had everything taken care of. I had my mom with me. I had my mom making little like lunch boxes for me. Like I didn't have to do anything, and it was so great. And all you had to do was play. And that's how it should be. You just show up and play and compete, and whoever, is the better player that day wins, instead of all this other nonsense that ends up clouding, your mind.
right. Yeah. And on top of that, it's this sense of, you're a brand now. You're not just a tennis player, but you have to brand yourself, because this is the culture we're in right now. Those with the best branding get the sponsors, get the financial support, get the opportunities, and it costs money, as you're sharing with us, to be out there on tour. And in order to get your ranking up, you have to be able to play well and win matches and have your mind focused on the tennis rather than be distracted with all of these other things. So how are you working yourself, and are there people that you're working with to help you kind of refine the Jamie Loeb brand so that you can attract some financial support to help you move up the rankings?
Yeah, it's like the chicken or the egg. You start winning matches and doing well, and then people want, to, help you, or you get the help and you start doing well. Like I think that's the toughest part, like in this industry too, where, players like myself, my ranking is now close to 300. And it's like, oh, if a brand sees, they're like, oh, well, we need you to be top 100, top 150. At that point, I don't really need you. Like, this is when I need you and need the money at this stage. Obviously would need it then, but it's more crucial and important now. I think for me, I do enjoy social media. Sometimes I tell myself like take a break from it, because it becomes a lot. And like there's, as much as there's a lot of good, there's also a lot of negative as well. But like you said, like part of my job, I have to brand myself. And, I'm very authentic on social media. I post like all different sides of Jamie and the day in the life, and, things I love outside of tennis, the grind, food, dogs, family, this, that, dancing videos, you name it. And I love it. And, I've definitely spoken to people about like, okay, like how do I brand myself? What do I need to also keep engaging, people and maybe reach a different audience or reach brands? So I have been talking with some people, but still I'm like running my account. I'm my own business. So like, yeah, it would be nice if someone could also just take that over. But at the same time, I think I enjoy that aspect and that creative control.
Give us an idea of like, if you go far in a tournament one week, what range is your prize money check in, and how does that compare to what it costs you to be at that event for the week?
Well, it depends what level event.
Sure.
The events are changing a little bit next year, but like, say a $25,000 event, which is like the lowest, like it was 15, then 25. The winner gets $4,000 total.
Mm-hmm.
But then it depends. The thing is, it just very much depends, like where are you traveling from, and like, or say for example, this year, my first tournament of the year, I won a 25K to start off the year. It was in Malibu, California.
Nice.
Yeah, there. I mean, that plane ticket right there. I mean, one way was, I remember, I think at least like 300, 350 from like New York. Because also around the time that I went, and I did housing. So like housing is where like host families, want to host players, and a lot of times you stay with strangers. But I was actually fortunate. There was a family that, just gave me their condo for the week, and like I actually never met them, and they're super, super nice. So I saved money doing that because Malibu, but everything in Malibu is so expensive.
Right.
So that week I made money to start my year. I mean, probably with flights and food and everything, and what I like probably made like, say like 2,500, which was great.
Mm-hmm.
But then a lot, like this is a tough question because there's so many levels and so many factors.
No, I know, but I think, people have this mindset that, oh, you're a professional athlete, you're making 7 figures a year. Like, that's not the case.
I think this year my total prize money, could be wrong, but I think it was maybe 60,000. But then you don't factor in the flights, the international flights. Like my flight down here was like maybe like $700 like one way, and then like staying at hotels and prize money and all that. Like it's so expensive.
And then you have to pay taxes too.
Pay taxes, and then like if you have, like, I'm renting an apartment in North Carolina, this, that, like it makes it impossible to have like a coach, because also if you have a coach with you, it's a another expense. You have to pay their weekly salary plus their entire expenses. Like it's, you stay in a hotel for a week, and that's like a good like $800 to $1,000 right there, depending where you are. And food, groceries, stringing. I mean, I get 3 rackets strong, like, $60 right there. Like everything adds up, and you're essentially losing each week unless you're playing doing well at the WTA 250s and above, but mainly it's the slams. Like you first round qualifying prize money, I think right now at all the slams is like 20K. So that's like a huge thing. I haven't made a slam in almost 2 years besides making US Open doubles this year, but like that income has always been pretty important and like has set me up for like each quarter of the year. And not having that really hurts because, I lost, I played tournament here. I lost, it's a 125. It was in Argentina, in Buenos Aires, and I lost second round of singles and lost first round of doubles, and I think I made like $1,200 or something. And you would think at that level, like, oh, it's a WTA, it's 125, it's so much more. But also like the taxes out of here, like it's just, you look at flights are so expensive. It's so like,
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, it's just so crazy. So it's almost impossible to make a living and to be able to afford this just from your earnings. Like it
Right.
is impossible. And that's why, you know, you need those sponsors and brand deals. And it's like, you have almost, it's like you feel like you have to beg sometimes and almost like sell your soul of why you should invest in me, because they just see a rank, they see a number, they see your ranking, they see your age, and like, you know, sorry, like doesn't make the cut. But they don't really look at you as like the potential of the person that you are and like your actual talent level. And it's just, it becomes tough because people are quick to judge you for a number. And I feel like there's way more to me and to all these players than a number. There's so much depth, but it's the resources and the opportunities that aren't always, you know, I guess accessible to
Mm.
a lot of players such as myself.
What would you want potential sponsors or brands to know about you that you feel like, it's difficult for them to know this just based on looking at results or just based on looking at your Instagram or TikTok?
Um, you know, that it hasn't been an easy road, and that, I mean, I work very hard. I haven't had a stable team in quite some time, and that's an area I've been wanting to invest money in, but I haven't had the money in recent years to do that. The last time I had that was in 2019. I got a grant from Oracle, which really helped me and it was great, but the money goes quick.
Yeah.
Um, so you know, it's not forever. Did it help? You know, for sure it helped me, but like it's, you need something more stable, and you know, like a salary would be nice, like any other human being in this world. So yeah, that, you know, I mean, for me, I know I have the talent, I have the passion, the work ethic. It's just more so putting the resources together, but you need money in order to have the resources. And um, yeah, I mean, I think I have a lot to offer and also too, like I love building relationships with people and I value those relationships. And I think that's something, you know, maybe athletes don't always do a good job with because they always have, I mean, I do have an agent, but I still like to talk to brands personally. And I think a
Mhm.
lot of times like that personal connection gets lost because the agent just takes over, which is, that's their role. It just, you know, lets the athlete or the player focus on their, you know, what they're doing. But I very much respect and appreciate the relationships, and like I think that's something that's like really important and maybe important to brands to like see the passion, you know, from the athlete. So I also have that to offer.
So I know there's several players out there that have created GoFundMe's or other, types of online donation portals where people can donate anywhere from $5 to, $5 million if they want. Have you done something like that, or would you do something like that to help you stay out on tour and build the type of support network that you need to reach your tennis goals?
I think I definitely thought about that earlier in my career. I think it's harder for me to do that now, even though that's what I need, the financial support. But like, I don't know, for me, I'm like, it seems desperate, but like, am I desperate? Maybe. I don't know. I mean, I don't think I will create one, but that's like the idea of like what I would need. It's just, I don't know, maybe someone wants to create it for me. Um, but I know like any money and funding, like it goes to, you know, my training,
Mhm.
and that's, you know, my, and that includes like my travel, all my travel expenses, and then having the proper team around me. Cause I think that's that's the biggest thing for me, is having the support and the stability, because I can't do it on my own, and it's pretty impossible to do it on your own. So I think I've maxed out that aspect, and like I really know to take it to the next level. And what has made me successful earlier in my career was having that team and having that, whether as, in juniors where I had that, to college, I had that, and to the beginning of my professional career, I had that. And it's almost in a way that seems like the like common denominator. Like, yes, I have to give myself credit. I have the talent. I'm the one doing it, but I also had the surroundings around me to allow myself to thrive in those environments. And as much as I've learned a lot being by myself, and it's been great in many ways, there's something to be said about having the immediate support too. So yeah, I don't know if I'll create a GoFundMe. Maybe we'll talk more about it. um yeah, it's just, yeah.
Well, it's interesting. Several years ago, I was at the US Open, and I was sitting in Armstrong, and I was sitting next to this couple, and they were cheering for one of the players on court. And I said, "Oh, are you related to him?" And they're like, "No, but he's from our hometown. And when he was a little kid, we were at this park and we saw him playing, and we really took an interest in him. And we've been sponsoring him since he was a little kid and following his career. And part of the deal was if he got to the US Open, that we would have seats in his player box." And so here we are. And I thought, gosh, what an like, it never occurred to me that this was when I was just at the beginning of Parenting Aces. So really didn't understand these dynamics of how these players did get the funding. And it was the first time I had met somebody that, they weren't tennis players, they weren't related to this guy, but they just took an interest in him and wanted to help him succeed. And I thought that was so cool. And since then, of course, I've heard lots of stories like that. And kind of the other end of it is, people like you who are looking for somebody like that to step in and believe in you, but not just believe in you in their heart, but believe in you with their checkbook. And so I know it's a tough ask, because it's not like, you are from a family that was struggling financially growing up. You had a comfortable upbringing, but
But I would like to hear that my parents have not helped me since I turned pro because they financially can't help me. So I also want to make that, like, I haven't the easiest, like, also transition to pro life, because also I will say a lot of parents support their kids on tour too. But
well, I was getting to that, having a nice upbringing doesn't mean your parents have an extra $100,000 or $200,000 a year to throw at you to support you as an adult who, theoretically should be able to support herself out in the world, right? And we as parents, we plan to support our kids through high school, maybe through college, and then the goal is, here you go, person, we have educated you, go out in the world and now take on that responsibility. As a professional tennis player, it's very difficult to take on that financial responsibility on your own. And that's where you are right now. You are at a place where, somebody does need to step up, a brand, a financial angel, somebody to help you build your team and stay out there. And I'm really hopeful that, somebody in our audience is that person for you, or, know somebody that is that person for you and can make that connection. So if somebody listening to this is that person, what would how would they connect with you? How would that conversation start?
I guess a couple of things before we get there, because you touched on a lot of things. One, I mean, I did have some help in the beginning of like the first couple of years on tour, which also I had some of my best results. So also like no full surprise there. And, it definitely kind of showed like, relieving some of that worry, like what it does to you. And yeah, as a parent, I'm going to touch on that. Like, it's a big decision to make. I mean, I'm the youngest of four. So, my parents have had a lot of expenses, with all of our tennis and everything throughout the years. And, unfortunately they haven't been able to support me. I mean, they support like what I am doing, and, they love, you know, watching me when they can. And, in spirit they're always supporting me, but then financially they can't. And, it's tough. And, it's very common to have, just like us, like someone sponsor you. People ask me like, well, what do like, how do people do it? And I'm like, it's crazy to think, but like, there's just people that care, or like, like your story, like they just take an interest, and they just want to see you succeed, and they have the money, and it's like, wow, that's incredible. But it's not always like that. And, I mean, most people, I feel it's just tough to be like, hey, can I have money with no strings attached? That'd be great. But, for me, like, you know, I like, if someone were to give, to help me and help fund me, I mean, the opportunity to like travel to tournaments, to, discuss like scheduling and kind of like be involved, with my tennis, with my choices, even potentially just like bouncing off ideas of like coaches, having them just kind of feel included and be included in this journey, because they are very much a part of this journey. And like I said, I'm very like relationship oriented, where like I also want like the people and others to like feel, connected, and, that, they're not just like an ATM. I mean, there's that, opportunities of like potentially paying back in the future, which would be more of the riskier side. But that's also me taking a chance on myself, and like, but also showing some accountability too. Cause like I said, it's, not every day where someone's just going to give money just because they want to, but maybe they do. And I think just, yeah, being a part of this like unique experience. And for me, like, I'm so driven and passionate that like I want to give this, like my all, and like the proper go at it. I'm 28, but like I don't feel ancient. Like people are like, oh, you're 20. Like, and then some people are like, oh, you're so young. Some people are like, oh yeah, you're getting up there. And I'm like, I mean, I haven't even reached my peak and my prime yet. So like, I know that about me. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. There's other things, I guess, we can like think about, but I'd say those are the kind of like two big things like I have to offer. And there's, a lot of tennis fanatics out there that, never experience like professional tennis. And, it would be cool like for them to, see what it's like, and to, be a part of it, and, meet certain players or whatever, like just say they've done things like that's like their US Open. And like it'd be, fun for me to, have that experience with them. And yeah, I guess those are the things.
Yeah. I mean, I will say, I've been very lucky with Parenting Aces. I've had some incredible opportunities at professional events, sitting in player boxes, sitting, in the front row courtside at big tournaments, and meeting players and things. And it's a tennis fan's dream come true. I can tell you, it is an incredible experience. So, to have that opportunity and to have the chance to help somebody really reach their dreams and goals, I think is so cool. And, would love to see somebody step up, or several somebodies step up and do that for you, Jamie, because I believe in you. I wish I had the funds to do that for you. I work for free at Parenting Aces, basically. So I know the feeling, but I do have somebody, behind me paying the bills. So I'm very lucky that way. But, if somebody is interested in getting in touch with you, what is the best way for them to do that? Because I know you're traveling all the time.
Yeah, I guess either through email or Instagram. Yeah, my Instagram is all my handles JLoeb308. So I guess you can start through that. I guess, yeah, that, I mean, I don't know if it'd be too much work for you, but if they, contact you first and then you send me the contact
Yeah.
over. But yeah, through social media, and I'm always checking and seeing things. So, yeah, I'll check my DMs.
Well, I was going to say, I mean, I definitely want to leave our audience with an action step here. So, I would say at the very least, make sure you're following Jamie on social media and following her career, because she's a fun player to follow. She's, as you can tell, full of personality, and, you know, the tennis notwithstanding, she's just a good human, and somebody that would be fun for your kids to follow as well, because I feel like, Jamie, you've gone on a path that a lot of our audience looks to go down, which is, having success in the juniors, then going on to play high level college tennis, finding success there, and then if the opportunity presents itself, going on to have a professional career. But also, I want to leave my audience with, if you are interested in supporting Jamie financially, follow her on Instagram, DM her, or as an alternative, message me, email me, and I'll put the two of you in contact with each other, and I'll let Jamie manage her own sponsor deals that way. But I'm happy to be the conduit of information. If people are more comfortable going through me, that's fine too. And I will have links to all of Jamie's contact in the show notes on parentingaces.com. So make sure you check that out. Jamie, one last question before we wrap this up. What does life after tennis look like for Jamie Loeb?
Oh, the endless world of possibilities. There's multiple things. And there's actually, one thing I'm starting to work on now. That could be a bigger thing post tennis. But say one of the things I'm really passionate about, I would love to commentate. I'd love to get into broadcasting. That would be really fun for me. As you see, I'd love to talk and I love to analyze, and I love tennis. So there we go. Marketing for brands. I think a lot of the sporting brands could do a better job marketing athletes, and also showcasing their personality a bit more, and in campaigns and just events and things like that. So that would be really fun. um some coaching. I think if I were to coach in college, it would only be at UNC. So, I'll keep my eye on that. But then also too, I'm really passionate about, helping the younger generation, especially younger girls, and actually started my own consulting business on the side, because that's another way for me to make passive income while I'm on tour. But that's something I, can see myself even pursuing more when I have, more time, and maybe a business partner post tennis. But I definitely, am flexible to do it while I'm playing. But like you mentioned, I've done junior tennis, the transition to college to pro, and still on tour. So it's like I've kind of have, hit a lot of check marks and have a lot of experience and knowledge to share. And, I wish growing up that I had, especially like a female voice and a female player that could, guide me through the experience, especially, the decision of, going from high school to online school, and the transition of, playing junior ITFs, and like what that process looks like. And then do I go back to school? Do I play pro? What does pro life look like? There's so many factors that I had to, figure it out myself.
Mhm.
And, part of me is so grateful of that, because I am the person I am today through those experiences. Part of me wishes I had someone to just kind of walk me through and like be that, mentor support system, that could just guide me in that process. So yeah, I'm also a consulting service for parents, for kids, for clubs, for colleges, whoever, just to help kind of the younger generation just through these processes, and just understand what went well, what didn't, what I wish I did differently, and like just kind of whatever, like basically that we're talking about now, but in a more specific way, like to also, progress. And I would love to be a part of, a younger kid's like, journey and see them succeed. That would make me happy and like having that impact. So that's something I feel I can really, take off in and, hopefully do well
I
in
love
that.
that. I love that. Okay, I lied. I have one more question. If in the future you have kids, will they play tennis?
I'll introduce them to tennis. I do not want them to have this lifestyle as a professional athlete. Maybe by then there'll be some sort of small guaranteed salary on tour where they can have that stability. But I I would like them to do other things. If this is their passion, that's great. I'm not going to force them. But I definitely will introduce them to tennis. It'll be so interesting because I feel like part of me would want to stay out of it a little bit, but knowing myself, for sure, I'll be hands on. But yeah, I mean, tennis is a huge part of my life, and I love it. So of course, they're gonna share that with me, and hopefully, they'll be proud of their mom one day.
Absolutely. I love that. Jamie, it's been such a pleasure chatting with you. You are an awesome woman. I've followed you for years. I think we first met, you were playing the Junior US Open years ago. You're like one of my first years being there as Parenting Aces. So yeah, I've been following you for quite a while, and I'm just so excited for you and what the future holds. And fingers crossed that your ranking gets to a place where you get to play all 4 slams in 2024 and those budget issues become non-existent for you, and somebody watching this or listening to this says, oh yeah, I've got a check for you, Jamie. Here you go. Let's keep you out there another 5 years. So that would be amazing. So best of luck to you in 2024. To my Parenting Aces audience, thank you so much for tuning in, and we will catch you next time on Parenting Aces.